Welcome to this explainer. There's this amazing legend about Kaldi, a ninth century goat herd. The story goes that his flock got incredibly hyper after munching on these bright, plump, red berries in an Ethiopian forest. And well, humanity has basically been happily hooked ever since. Today, we're building a visual flowchart together. We're going to trace the fascinating botanical and chemical transformation of coffee, picturing exactly how this little plant journeys from a remote equatorial shrub straight into your favorite morning mug. If you're a beginner just starting to learn about the science behind your daily brew, you are in the right place. We're going to follow this incredible physical journey step by step. It's like a giant puzzle, really. We are focusing purely on the botanical and chemical changes of the plant itself, tracking the physical transformation of the bean from its raw, natural state all the way to the roaster. To really wrap our heads around the massive scope of the flowchart we're building, just consider this. An astounding 2.25 billion cups of coffee are enjoyed globally every single day. Literally, every single day. It's actually one of the world's most traded commodities, right behind oil. So to keep up with that astronomical demand, the physical journey of this little bean has to be an absolute marvel of logistics, agriculture, and botanical science. Let's kick things off with Phase 1, the farm. Picture high-altitude, mist-covered environments in the equatorial bean belt. It's a band stretching right across the globe where the climate is just perfect. Here, shrub-like coffee plants are cultivated, and they take about 8 to 9 months to grow and ripen their fruit. Now, before it becomes that dry brown bean you're familiar with, it's actually a small, brightly colored fruit that we call a coffee cherry. Here's a wild botanical fact for you. Fruits on the exact same branch can ripen at completely different paces. Because of this, the gathering process has to be incredibly selective. Only the deep red, perfectly plumped cherries are chosen to kick off the physical processing phase, while the green ones are just left alone to keep maturing on the branch. That precision right at the start is absolutely crucial to ensuring the final chemical quality of the bean. Okay, so once they're collected, we hit the very first major physical change in our flowchart. It's a step called depulping. Depulping is the mechanical process of extracting the inner seed right out from the fleshy fruit of the coffee cherry. Picture popping the hard inner pit out of a regular cherry you'd buy at the grocery store. That inner pit is exactly the raw coffee bean we're after. It's a defining moment, the exact second the seed physically separates from its fruity casing. At this exact point in our visual flowchart, the journey hits a processing fork in the road. The facilities need to get those beans ready for drying, and they generally go down one of 3 distinct paths. We have the wash process, which is also known as the wet process. Then there's the natural process, also called the dry process. And finally, the uniquely named honey process. The path that's chosen here is a real game changer because it dramatically alters the final chemical profile and the ultimate taste in your cup. Let's look at that first path. If the wash or wet process is used, those freshly depulped seeds are immediately submerged in water so they can be separated by density. Basically, the heaviest, most structurally sound seeds sink right to the bottom. After that, they ferment in a big water tub for 1 to 2 days to break down the organic matter before any remaining fruit is washed completely off. Because it strips the fruit away so early on, this water-intensive method yields a very clean, super vibrant taste. Alternatively, if we go down the natural or dry process path, the depulping actually happens much later. The whole intact cherries are simply laid out to bake directly under the hot sun first. The fleshy fruit completely drives like a raisin around the seed, locking in a distinctly fruity taste. And sitting right between these two methods is the honey process. For this one, the outer skin is removed, but the sticky, honey-like fruit mucilage is left clinging to the bean while it dries. It creates a beautifully unique, incredibly sweet flavor profile. But hey, regardless of the path taken, all those beans must be meticulously dried down. The seeds are spread onto massive mesh racks or placed into tumbling dryers to get nice, even air circulation. And the absolute scientific goal here is an exact mathematical target: 11% moisture content. If you hit that precise 11% mark, the beans become chemically stable enough to travel the entire world without rotting or spoiling. Now fully dried, our little seed is officially known as parchment coffee and enters phase 2, milling and sorting. The beans hit the dry mill where an incredible array of specialized machines takes over to ensure absolute physical perfection. Picture an air blower blowing away the lighter stuff to resort by density, an assortment of sieves perfectly filtering them by size, and then a rapid optical scanner visually sorting them by color, automatically kicking out any defective beans in a split second. But as advanced as those optical scanners are, well, they can't taste. So before leaving the country of origin, professional Q graders step in for some strict quality control. They perform a highly specialized sensory process called cupping. They roast and brew small sample batches right there in the lab, deeply inhaling the complex aromatics and loudly slurping the liquid, yes, the louder the better, to evaluate the bean's taste, aroma, and mouthfeel. This is how they assign a definitive quality grade. Once that quality grade is assigned, the final paper-like layers of skin are milled away. What we are finally left with are raw, green coffee beans. These completely stripped green little guys are poured into massive burlap sacks and loaded into huge steel shipping containers. They are now fully prepared to leave their botanical home and enter the massive global supply chain. This timeline gives us a great picture of the massive logistical leap our green beans must now take. Starting from day one at a tropical origin port, they embark on a multi-week ocean voyage, packed tightly in 21-ton cargo containers. They literally cross the globe, passing through rigorous customs checkpoints before moving into vast climate-controlled storage warehouses. And finally, they arrive at their ultimate destination, the roastery. Okay, now we reach the absolute climax of our flowchart, Phase 3, the roasting transformation. Here, the pale green beans tumble into a massive heated drum. They're stirred continuously by a metallic arm right over a roaring, gas-powered fire. It is intense. Nearby sensors and highly trained coffee engineers strictly monitor the beans' moisture level, their chemical stability, and the temperature throughout a highly controlled, roughly 12-minute heating cycle. Inside that roaring heat, a beautiful, almost violent reaction takes place. The beans physically swell up and loudly pop, literally cracking open under the immense thermal pressure. Rich essential oils that were stored deep down within the cellular structure of the seed suddenly bubble right to the surface. The color undergoes this dramatic transformation from a pale, dull green to a glossy, dark brown. And of course, that iconic, complex aroma is finally released. Through this intense thermal reaction, those hard little seeds become brittle, grindable, perfectly brewable beans. The actual length of that roasting cycle acts as one final fork in the road for the flavor. A light roast is pulled from the heat much earlier. This preserves the bean's original botanical characteristics, meaning you're going to taste more of those original plant and fruit notes. On the other hand, a dark roast stays in the heat longer. That burns off some of those delicate plant sugars, but brings out incredibly rich, bold, toastier characteristics. It's such a delicate, fascinating balance of chemistry and culinary art. So our visual flowchart is complete. The next time you wake up and smell that rich aroma, will you picture the complex, multi-step journey of transformation that brought it right to your cup? Think about it. From a bright red cherry on a misty equatorial shrub, through the depulping mills, across the vast ocean, and straight into the roaster's fire. As we wrap up this explainer, I really hope this visual journey gives you a brand new appreciation for the incredible physical and chemical transformation behind every single sip. Keep learning, keep exploring, and definitely enjoy your next cup.